Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea, and just finishing off the tail end of the doubleheader last night at 7 p.m. Central Time, USA, 9 a.m. Philippines. I started this live stream with the topic Generation Gap and the younger Filipino wife. So today is going to be about seven more aspects, and so we can say that we've discussed this. And like I said yesterday, the age difference is one thing, but is there something in the age gap that can make a relationship problematic between a foreigner and a Filipina? And that just very well might be the generation gap, because someone of a different generation will have different, ideas and beliefs and outlooks, and that could be something that could be a problem in the marriage. It's not something I really thought about when I was um, meeting my wife. We got married in May of 2015. We got married very quickly. I didn't have a long list of things to talk about. I had a very short list. It's an idea for a video one of these days. I've got literally over 100 ideas, and that is one of them. I don't think it's good to have a big, long list, and believe in just trying to, work things out as they come. So this is something that could be an issue, the generation gap in the younger wife, and I've got a lot of time tonight. This shouldn't take too long, and I really would encourage people to ask questions about anything. It could have to do with the generation gap, the age gap. It could have to do with online, and try not to sneeze here. Online relationships, being married to a Filipina, anything. I love talking about that. This channel isn't about the Philippines because we're not in the Philippines, although we hope to retire there. It's not about the United States where we are. It's about one thing, really only one thing, and that's relationship with a Filipina. A lot of people are looking for wives. They've kind of given up in their own country, just like me, just like others have. And some of them are finding success with Filipinas. And if you have any questions about that, tonight is your opportunity to do that and respond to this topic here. So last night, we talked about humor, culture, energy, sex, and basic differences of interests that are or could be part of a generation gap. And tonight we've got about seven more ways that I just want you to think about when you are wanting a good relationship with a Filipina. And I may diverge a little bit from the topic now and then. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea so you can gain insight into having a successful relationship with a Filipina. That's what I want. And as I learn, I want to share this with you. And please comment as we go. The longer I'm married, the more situations I'll be in. I think the stronger that will make the channel over time. So one thing I mentioned here, it's just been on my mind. I'll put it here so we can talk about it tonight, and that is education level. Education level. By the way, in case I had body odor last night, and that's why there weren't a lot of people leaving comments, I did put on some deodorant here, and so hopefully that will encourage more people. Dash Riprock does in the fact that she will eventually realize that she is much younger than other women married to men your age. That is viewed as a inappropriate relationship. Well, the Filipina should already come with the realization long before she arrives in your country, long before you even have contacted her for the first time, that most of the foreigners are looking for younger women. I think they're savvy enough to know that in the foreigner's country where she is most likely to live, because he's probably not able to just retire at that time and go live in the Philippines, that she is going to be younger, and that the friends that she meets and co-workers that she meets will, that are her age, for example, will have husbands that are their age, and who knows, what they will tell them. Um, my wife doesn't really, tell me anything that's bad about what people have talked to her about, um, because she can take care of herself. She knows if anybody's getting too nosy about our age difference, she just says, "Why don't you go ask him?" Because we work in the same place. So it is viewed as a inappropriate relationship because almost all relationships in America are within 3 years of each other. That's what we grow up assuming we're going to have as we get older. We find ourselves single or we've never been married. Um, Asia, Southeast Asia, the Philippines is a possibility. That's why I want to help say what I can say to help encourage people to look there. So it's inappropriate from your country's standpoint, but I've got some videos on how to address those things. Um, if you feel the need to talk to the Filipina ahead of time about what she's getting into, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Now, if she's, I hate to say this and make generalizations, but if she's from the province, probably is less educated, and that could be more of a shock when she gets to your country, adjusting to the country, adjusting to the fact that, you know, women her age are married to guys their age. But let's say somebody that's not from the province, somebody that's educated, I think they know what they're doing. I really do. Um, yeah, Western women see you as a dirty old man relatively. Well, I'm glad you said that, uh, Dash, because the perspective I think one should have is to not really care about what other people are saying. Um, if you've watched 90 Day Fiance, you can see that within families, their family members um, might not come out and say, "Well, you're a dirty old man," but they'll probably focus on some stereotypes of the Filipina, while other people will maybe think about you being a dirty old man. And at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do about it. If somebody, is, I guess, bold enough or brazen enough to talk about this with you. With my personality, I would want to challenge them and just ask them, do you have a problem with this? Now, if we're talking women, I don't know. Maybe they would just gossip behind your back, but um, it really it really doesn't matter. The best defense that you as a foreigner can have, married to a younger Filipina, is your relationship. When they see you together, does she look happy? Does she look invested? Does she look involved with you? Um, that's the best thing. And another thing is what I did was when I got here, I didn't hide my wife. I took her to meet, doctors, dentists, anybody, that was a part of my life, because on the one hand, she's going to have to be involved with them too. But on the other hand, I wanted them to meet my wife. I wanted them to know who she was. So, we scheduled things to go together, and so they could meet her. And I have to tell you that, my wife is an impressive woman. I have not gotten the impression that anybody that has met us together thinks anything about us other than I am her husband, she is my wife. Okay, they know I'm very proud of her. I'm very complimentary of her. They see that she's normal and sane, and she married me under her own volition. And so don't be shy about, bring her, give her a chance to get her feet wet in your country. And, but then, bring her around, show people, and even the women, I work with her. We work at the same place. We sometimes used to be able to sit together. So everybody there saw us together. And I would sit very close to her because I guess I'm protective, but, that came naturally. Um, and they think they think well of us, and even if they didn't, just try not to let it bother you. All you can do is the best you can at being a good husband. And if you're happy, she's happy, you're both satisfied, then it really doesn't matter if 6 billion people are against you. So this is the first time I've seen one comment here that says could be under review. Okay, it says here, probably because of this word, it says the generation gap could come forward when she is labeled as an exploited poor girl who was brought to the U.S. to be an older man's sexual fantasy. Well, people can think everything they want, and I guess as the man, you have to be able to just let it slide off of your back like water off a duck's back. And so what? I would tell people, look, I wanted to marry a younger woman. In fact, if I recall, my age group at the time was 20 to 30. I was 53. And so I said, yeah, why not? There were plenty of choices. I was not married. I was getting desperate. I thought my luck was going to run out here in this country. So I went with a younger woman, no reservations about that. So, I didn't have any trouble telling friends and coworkers that they could make of it what they want. Probably they were jealous. I know some people told me, I thought about that when I was younger, but I just didn't have the courage to do it. I did have the courage to do it. We've been married for about 4 months, short of 4 years now. And I'm glad I did, even though we got married very quickly. And older man sexual fantasy. Well, look, what older man doesn't want? Most older men want to marry a younger woman. So I don't think there's anything that they don't understand about that. I don't think there's anything that women don't understand. I don't think there's anything the men don't understand. It's just a question of does a man have the courage or the conviction to go after that. Now, also, my wife is not my sexual fantasy or my sex slave or anything like that. She is my wife, and she has a lot of responsibilities as my wife, and we talk about those things. So again, let them think whatever they want. I was 53, my wife was 27. And when she said, well, somebody wanted to know how old you were, I always said, well, hon, just tell them I'm 60 and you're 18, and let them think all they want. That's okay. I'm going to hit this button here that says show. She could become resentful. Thinking about the context here, Dash Riprock about older foreigner comes to this country, and I don't know if you're talking about her becoming resentful because of other people's comments that she hears, or because she sees that other people are married to someone that's their age. She could, but again, you if you're concerned about this, you should ask her very simply when you're communicating with her online before you go over there and get too involved. Is ask her, I'm looking for a younger woman, and I'm very attracted to Filipinas. I'm looking for a younger Filipina, and in fact, I'm talking to several. How do you feel about that? How do you feel, honestly, now about if you were to be married to an older foreigner? I have heard that Filipinas say that the foreigners are wiser, they're more trustworthy, they're more committed and faithful, and they like that. So just broach the topic. I think you just and just have to talk about it, and she might put you at ease very, very quickly. Or you could say it this way: when you meet somebody, what concerns might you have about marrying an older foreigner? Because I'm looking for a younger Filipina. I have a lot to offer her, and I just want to ask you: are you scared of this? Would you worry about what your friends would say? Would you worry about what anybody else would say? And and see what she says. She might be mature, and it just wouldn't be a problem. Um, when I was 26, did I want a 53-year-old wife? The answer is no. When I was 26, I probably wanted a 20 to 25-year-old wife. And men in their 30s, studies have shown, tend to want a wife who is 20 to 25. When they're 40s, they tend to want a wife that's 20 to 25. When they're 50s, they tend to want a wife that's 20 to 25. So, no, that would be, to me, I would not understand that. I don't want to get much into that because I don't understand that. I understand a man in his 50s wanting a woman in their 20s. I think it's obvious that there's some attractions there, but no, that wouldn't have been for me. Some will tell her, the Filipina, you chose her because you are too weak or have too many issues that a woman your age wouldn't tolerate, but a younger, inexperienced girl will not confront you on. Um, well, uh, trying to get a grip on this question here, and some will tell her, well, um, if she's the type of Filipina that would be swayed by what other people tell her, then it's probably good that they tell her that right away so she can be out of the picture. I know my wife and other Filipinas would not care what other people told them. Why? Because they're smart enough to make up their own mind. Um, Again, Filipinas have heard all of these things before. They have friends and they talk, and they're well aware of this dynamic of an older foreigner seeking a younger Filipina. They know what they think about it, which is the most important thing. And sure, they probably know what other people are thinking. And again, whatever those issues are, if the younger Filipina is willing to give the foreigner a chance, that is all that matters as far as I am concerned. Um, Too weak. Well, Filipinas are strong, and I don't know how weak I am or not, but again, the main thing here, Dash, is that she's probably smart enough to already know those things. They haven't been in a cave all their life. They've grown up in this culture dynamic of older foreign men and the younger Filipinas, and I don't think they can be affected. I mean, if they can be affected, you know, I don't know. She must have been in a cave or something. I don't know how that can be. I think the Filipinos pretty much know what they're getting into. Hi, Mark Price. Happy birthday, by the way. God wired men to be attractive to younger women because younger women are more likely to produce children. So don't feel guilty about it. Yeah, that very well may be. I mean, I attracted to young women because they're attractive. Um, and I have to be honest, I've never really felt like I wanted children. So maybe to me that's not a part of that. But yeah, if a man is looking to be a father, where else is he going to look? The opportunities to be with a younger woman who is more likely to give birth to a healthier child because of her age, that's a plus. Now, as I did a live stream on having children in an age gap relationship, the older the husband is, um, it's kind of hard to tell whether that's a health risk or not, because some sources say it is, and some sources say it isn't. But a younger woman, probably, all things being equal, more likely to give you a healthier child. Western women will never respect you no matter what you do. They will see you as a horrible person and her as an exploited girl. I think that's probably being too black and white about it, um, because I mean my wife knows everybody that's important in my life, and for example, my church. My church prayed for me. I asked them, pray for me for a wife. Don't stop until I'm married because I don't know what else to do. Well, about a year later, I got married. And the answer to their prayers was this 26-year-old Filipina from almost 10,000 miles away. Well, the church has about 70 people. A lot of them are elderly, but not all. And one of the ladies, who was about 30, befriended my wife right away. And she and another woman that was older, probably 60s, who had immigrated from Australia a long time ago, both of them, for my wife, put together a welcoming shower. And we had like 45 gifts that they gave my wife. So I know I wasn't invited, it was just the women. But I did see some videos my wife took, and I did hear about it. And I think they were very, very impressed when she got up and was a little bit tearful and talking about the struggles she was going to face being in America. But, her husband was there. She was going to support him. And I think, she got a lot of instant respect. My wife is good with names. She pretty much remembers the names of people at church. So when she sees them, she'll go up, give them a hug, or the women will beat her to it and give them a hug. Isa has a very delightful personality for being on the shy side. I guess she knows how to turn it on, in church or anywhere else when she's with me, because she's a wonderful companion. I'm very proud of her. So I don't think it's true that all Western women, no matter what, will see me as a horrible person and her as an exploited girl. That's just my take from my experience. I do think they respect her. They can think whatever they want about me, and you can't control what other people think. I'm sure there's a lot of jealousy on the part of other women. In fact, that's the topic of another video I want to do someday. Um, I got into trying to find a Filipina wife so that I could be happy, so I could have a companion, intimacy, touch, a future, purpose. And my wife has her reasons for wanting to be sought by a foreigner. And so we got married. I didn't ask anybody their opinion on whether what I was doing, was sensible, or if it was what they would do. I knew what I wanted. My wife knew what she wanted. Uh, I think both of us can handle what other people think. And, it doesn't matter. It just, to me, it's not important if you recognize that other people's opinions are just not that important. They didn't marry your wife. You did, and you know her better than anybody. So I just wouldn't be concerned about that. Also, yeah, thanks, Mark. They will tell her that you didn't seek a wife from a first world country. You had to go to a country of poverty to find a girl who was has a father around your age. Well, that's fine. Um, I would just say is, do you have a problem with that? Um, I didn't ask any women or any men about their opinion. I know the men generally would agree with me that a younger woman, younger Filipina, very attractive woman, hardworking woman, um, often educated woman would make a good wife. As far as the women, all I can do is treat her well. And when they see the way I treat my wife, they will be green with envy. They will be jealous. I remember one time at work, I had a screenshot of must have been my wife's birthday or anniversary or something. I got her roses, and I had a card, and I said a couple sentences, and I had a screenshot, and a woman came up behind me, at work, and she read that, and she said, "Oh, that's nice. My husband would never do anything like that for me." I want her to know how much I respect and how much I value this woman. And that's all you can do. Don't act creepy. Don't overplay the age part. Just be a good, caring husband to her. And they'll probably just be jealous, is all. Mark Price, my girlfriend, is 10 years younger than me. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming on here. We didn't have a lot of comments yesterday, and I'll get into this. And I want to hear your thoughts on this too. But also, while you're here, look, I think I can be a good resource for this because, I'm married to a Filipina. We got married in less than 8 weeks. So I have to be good at getting along with her and learning about her because we did this on the run. And yeah, we're breaking some, the normal norms of how this relationship goes. Nobody else has to get married that quickly, but it's worked for us. That's why I have this channel. I want to help other people. You can, pick out the things that you think would be valuable to you. They might be important to her once she realizes that you didn't just find a girl her age, but sought a girl who was decades younger. Well, you tell her right away, first thing you meet her online, you're very attractive. I was very attracted to you. Mention something else in their profile that you liked and say, I'm looking for a younger Filipina. How do you feel about that? And I can tell you how they feel about that before they even answer, and that is that they're okay with that. For example, Christian Filipina, it would say the age preference of the women. And so let's say I was 53, I'm looking for 20 to 30, and you can tell they're looking for, it will up to 20 to 80. I would pass on that because I think that's too indiscriminate. But my wife had like 30 to 55. Okay, so that's a green flag. That's a good sign. That's realistic. Okay, I wouldn't go for 20 to 80. I would feel uncomfortable about that because that seems, kind of extreme. So just tell her, I find you, very attractive. I find Filipinas very attractive. In fact, I've also heard that they make good wives. I'm kind of looking for a traditional woman, someone that will go to church with me, and someone that will let me, take care of them, be my partner in life, my companion in life. And I'm looking to the Philippines, and your profile caught my eye. It's okay. They're okay with that. I don't think they just realize that you're looking for a girl decades younger. If you tell her right off the bat, you're looking for a woman, I wouldn't call her a girl, just looking for a woman who is a lot younger. And why? You're attracted to them. Maybe you want to have children, maybe you don't. And just let her take it from there. Let her decide if it's going to be an issue or not. Don't decide ahead of time that it's going to be an issue. Some will say your channel is actually teaching other older men to use acts of kindness to seduce naive younger girls into having their homes and families for bedrooms in the West. Well, I'm not, I don't know. I don't know what other people are saying necessarily. I do think you should be kind to her like you would be kind to a woman, that you met anywhere that you happen to like and have some common interests in. Probably not going to have as many common interests with a Filipina, but I do think the secret is just treating them the same, treating them well. And acts of kindness to seduce, I would say no there, Dash, because I'm very upfront, and I would recommend people be very upfront with the women about what they want. And just say, look, here's how I see marriage to me going. Right off the bat, I'm telling them I'm looking for a wife. I'm not looking for a pen pal. I'm not looking for someone to chat with. I'm serious. Okay. I'm looking for a wife. And the ones that aren't interested in that are not going to be interested, probably won't scam me because they know I'm looking to get married. They can't string me along. I want a wife. I'm serious. And this is what I think I can bring to the table. This is what I'm looking for. I think maybe you have some potential for that. And so my channel is all about getting married. I just think that's the best way to live. And I have said that over and over. Um, in Filipinas, well, that was my last resort, I think. And after 30 years of being alone, I got married in less than 8 weeks, and we're still married today. And no, I didn't try to seduce her. I'm not good at that. I just say, here's what I want. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I need. Here's what I need. Can you do this? And my wife loved it. She wanted a serious person. And, she could have had anybody, but she didn't want somebody that wasn't serious and playing games. So, yeah, I guess if you come on real serious, they're not going to get the intention that you're going to seduce them. Mark Price, that's what I like about dating sites. Unlike other social situations, you can say up front that you're looking for a wife and not a friend or a pen pal. I agree, Mark. If I met a woman somewhere and said, "Hey, can we get together for some coffee sometime?" and she says yes, and we get together, and before too long, I say, I really think highly of marriage, and I want to be married, and I have a lot to offer, and so on and so forth. There's a good chance that by the time I get done talking, she won't even be there. Who knows? You just never know. But I agree. In a dating site, one guy told me years and years ago. He said I wouldn't do a dating site. Well, he was already married, but he said if I did, I would just come right out and tell them exactly what I'm looking for, and that's what I did too. So I agree. There are some advantages. Another advantage, Mark, about the dating sites is when you're meeting in person, I just think it can take so long to really get down to business because you don't want to offend them. You just kind of playing it safe. I think you can be more aggressive with somebody that's going to have to go through a possibly 8 to 10 month immigration process. You're talking about women, excuse me, in the Philippines that want to get married. Okay, they know why you're there. They want to get married. They know you want to marry them. They hope you choose them. They know you're looking for a younger woman, and I think they're flattered by that. They certainly aren't surprised by that, and they certainly might have a relationship with you, like so many of us have, and get married. Trying to keep up with these. Um, why did you, meaning me, wait so long in my life to go for a wife? Meaning you have said you have known Filipinas make good wives and you are attracted to Filipinas. Why not sooner? Why I didn't get married in general for 30 years, from about the time I was 24 on. I think I was my last relationship and still licking my wounds from that, but I wanted to get married. I had no earthly idea it was going to take that long. I thought in 2 weeks I could meet somebody, and in 2 years we'd be married. Well, when you're 24, 25 years old, you soon realize, wow, a lot of women in life are already kind of involved with the person they're going to marry. At least that's my excuse at the time. And it just once it got into the 30s, it just got even harder. Now, as far as the Filipinas, okay, I never thought I would marry a Filipina. I never even gave it any serious thought because I didn't even know how anybody would do that. Because when I first learned about that, the internet wasn't around. Then I know somebody that married a Filipina. They've been over to our house a couple times. I think we've been over there to meet them and go out to an Asian restaurant. But he was the first guy I knew that married a Filipina, and that was before the internet. That was using letters. And I guess I wasn't really interested in doing that at that time. I don't know if that was 80s, early 90s, maybe. And so things are a lot better now. And my sister told me before she died of cancer, she said, I believe you're going to marry a Filipina. Because she knew, because she was my sister, what I liked. And I told her, I kind of reprimanded her for that and said, how dare you? It's so hard for me to find anybody. You're just belittling me. I don't want to hear it. You shouldn't say those things. You don't know how tough it is. And I was mad because I thought she was minimizing the difficulty in finding somebody. But she was my sister. She cares about her brother, and she didn't give up on that. And I told her, how in the world? Okay. And then my pastor sends me a letter or an email about a man that married somebody in the Philippines. He said, this isn't exactly your situation, Bob, but there's some similarities. Look at it, tell me what you think. You don't have to do it. And I looked at it and thought, I've seen this before, maybe a couple months earlier. And so at that point, I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this. So, I was familiar with some U.S. dating sites that were no good, I think, and so I went and looking for international dating site, and I found Christian Filipina. Met her on May 17th and proposed April 4. We were married May 10th. She got here January 11th of the following year. It went very quickly, which I don't mind sharing with other guys. If you've been just not getting anywhere, spinning your wheels with U.S. dating sites, the Filipinos actually want to get married. I never got the impression that the women on the U.S. dating sites wanted to get married. But the women in the Philippines is different. They want to get married. They often want to marry an older man. But their concern is, are these guys serious? Are they just kicking the tires? Do they just like the experience of being with a younger, attractive woman? They want someone that's serious because they like to get serious quicker than they do here in America. So I didn't really feel like I waited as much as I just didn't have the opportunity. I would never choose to wait that long because I almost lost my mind waiting that long. One day I told my pastor, this is so hard. It's taking so long. It's almost like my wife wasn't even born when I started looking for a wife. And that's true. She wasn't. Not for about 3 years after. And 9,800 miles, flight miles away, you can see how impossible it was. And it would never have happened if I had not continued to try to find a wife and remembered the Filipina and thought, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. And the rest is history. Now I have a website, and I want to share whatever I can learn with guys like yourself. So that's a good question. Why not sooner for Filipina? I just didn't know how, didn't think it was realistic. And ultimately, the answer to that question, it wasn't time. It wasn't God's time. And when it was, things moved at warp speed. Let's see. You mentioned was this yesterday? You wouldn't be happy if she is accepting of homosexuality and her generation is fond of gay people, but chronophobia, or excuse me, never heard this word before. Chronophilia can describe a sexual fixation of members of a different age. Well, I wouldn't be in favor of that either. Now, did I talk to my wife about that before we got married? No, I didn't know anything about lady boys. I didn't know about anything like this. And this transgendered situation is not what it was in the United States, completely different. You can't even tell the difference between a real woman and a transgender woman, a former male. I still think always male because the genetics, the DNA is always going to be what it always has been. And so I don't want to get into, um, whether somebody was born that way or can't help um, those things. I just know that in the Philippines, as I mentioned yesterday, there is a lot of that. The woman you're talking to probably knows some lady boys. It's really big in Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. And I guess if it's a concern, I would bring that up. Um, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how she would respond to it. Now, here's the thing. My wife knows how I feel about that because I'm not, shy to tell her how I feel about things and why. I just feel that's not good. It's not right. And I'm not going to go into exacting details here because I don't want to get this sidetracked. But she knows how I feel. But she also knows that I am not going to um, avoid her friends. I'm not going to tell my wife, hey, if you know some people like that, you got to disfriend them, disown them. I'm going to be respectful to them. Especially if my wife knows them, and I'm not going to. No, I think you just have to, uh, be accepting of the situation where they are. Who knows? Maybe someday um, they will change that. And I brought that up. It's more of a cultural thing, but a woman who is in the Philippines that's younger probably has grown up always with the understanding or the impression that there's nothing wrong or abnormal about um, you know the transgender situation. I don't agree with her, but I'm not gonna, like I say, I'm not gonna be uh, judging people that their eternal state is already fixed. There's all kind of ways that we go astray, and you know, I'm not gonna I'm gonna be as friendly to them as I am with anybody else. I guess that's how I would um, feel about that. I don't know if I answered your question, but I hope I did a little bit. Um, she might begin to question why you really wanted a very young girl, not just her, but that was your target range. That was my target range. And I have heard younger men lament that when they go on these dating sites for Asians or Filipinas, that a majority of the Filipinas only want the younger guys. So they feel like, wow, I don't have a chance with these women because they don't want me. They want guys that are 10, 15, 20, 30 years older. So, again, that's something that they're actually looking for, and they understand why why you're looking for a younger woman. Um, they know, they know, who doesn't know? Everybody in your country knows um, why you're looking for a younger woman. They're attractive, and the sex should be longer in your life, and her energy. By the way, I've done some videos on younger women relationship with a older foreigner man, and um, that's just normal. I think men everywhere in the world have been interested in a younger woman. Um, but if I wanted her to be my sex slave, I wouldn't have married her, But I wanted to get married ASAP. Yeah, I was spinning my wheels in North American dating sites prior to Christian Filipina too. That's right, Mark, because I'm Christian Filipina. Spinning your wheels, sinking in quicksand, getting nowhere. Yeah, that's the way that tends to be. Uh, uh, aren't you just a bit suspicious as to why Filipinas are all in such a hurry? Well, that's a good question. I never was, and it may be just because they, being in a country with a lot of poverty, um, they sense, as women tend to do, the need for a better life, more secure, stable life, and they have every right to push for or make themselves available to an early relationship. All the guy can say is no. It's too quick. I don't know you well enough. But um, her motives, I guess we're getting into motives here. Um, no, what I was focused on was what I needed in a wife, and I felt like I had a decent idea on how to go about being married to her, even though I'd been alone for so long. I spent a lot of time studying and preparing for that, and I spelled it right out there what I was looking for. I understand also that the younger women know foreigners likely to look for a younger Filipina, and the Filipinas know that you can provide for them, and you know that you can provide for them, and again, there's nothing hidden there. Um, she expects me. I don't think that's too strong a word. Expect to help her family financially. That doesn't mean we have to spend, $1,000 a month on them. Um, the Filipina wants to work, so I think she can handle the brunt of that because she wants to work. And so, why she's in a hurry? She probably wants a better life. Um, Sometimes a Filipino will tell you that they don't trust the younger Filipino men. They see the older Filipino or the older foreign man is a better option for her. And she's willing to give him a chance. She wants to be treated well, and she can make a great wife to you. But suspicious? No, not really. I mean, I know they want somebody to provide for them the things that they can't have, and if I believed that I could do that, um, that wasn't really an issue. Comment here: Ladyboy's fixation is no different than your fixation with very much younger girls. Did you go astray? Well, I didn't go astray because, like I said, older men have always been attracted to younger women. I wouldn't even call it a fixation. It's just a normal attraction. Now, the whole ladyboy situation is, beyond the scope of this channel. Um, I don't think that's a normal attraction, whereas older foreigner, younger Filipina, very easy to understand the attraction there. Um, People in my church, friends at work, people at work, supervisors, the people in my wife's department have no issues with it. People sit with us when our hours were the same and treat us like anybody else. So they can think whatever they want. There are other guys I know are jealous that they didn't take the same opportunity, and maybe they still will. You can't be haphazard about it, but that's just a normal attraction. That's why I don't have any shame, I guess, which was the title of the video I did. Shame on you for wanting a younger woman. Uh, not at all. Uh, you got a lot of questions, Dash. I'm happy to answer them, and because I want to answer them for you, and other people, can hear those answers too. Um, Her generation will see a much older man, a younger woman as a business arrangement. That is true. Sometimes their generation does see it as a business arrangement, but a business arrangement, on the other hand, can be very impersonal. It's just a business transaction. Um, Feelings don't matter and so on, but those of us that have been married to a Filipina will tell you, business transaction or not business transaction, our needs are met, we're satisfied, we're fulfilled. What we got married for, we are getting. Our wives seem happy. They're good partners. They take good care of our house. They're responsible. They work. Um, that's what I want. That's what I signed up for. So business transaction, again, that's kind of an idea that's floated out there. If you're married to somebody and it does seem like a business transaction because, she seems like she has no investment in you, no feelings for you, um, then that's a business transaction and it's going to be very unsatisfying. And so, yeah, but as far as is it a business transaction if you want the younger wife, which who doesn't? Some people don't. A lot of people do. And her wanting somebody to take care of her, no, absolutely. How many women, regardless of nationality, do not want to marry somebody that can give them security? I mean, probably most all of them. Does that mean that every woman or a majority of women marry any man as a business arrangement? No, that's just a natural instinct she has. She needs to take care of her children if she's younger. So she's looking for somebody that has a job, somebody that is responsible, somebody that's not drinking his life away, drugging his life away, gaming his life away. And if they see that in the Philippines with um, some Filipinos, not all, of course, but I'm just relaying this information because it comes from Filipinas, then they're going to look for an older foreigner man. Having said that, she's not going to just pick the first guy that comes around. She's not a mercenary. She wants to find somebody that she thinks will take good care of her. And so, business arrangement, no, no, it's not. And if other people think it is, I really don't. I don't care about that. I don't mind. They can think whatever they want. So I find the next comment here. Yeah, he has money, assets, and power. She has youth and beauty. And since the beginning of time, I would say that would apply to the human race. Um, so again, nothing surprising about that at all. And this question here, old man, young Filipinas, financial drainage. Um, Kind of a sarcastic title there, I guess. So you basically admit me that a situation that starts out as mine did is not love at first. Rather, you have to roll the dice and pray it turns into a loving, trusting marriage. Um, well, I've done videos on this pertaining to love, and I'm going to say this, and I just, I wish we had all the time to define what I'm saying and clarify what I'm saying. You might have checked some of my other videos on love, but um, love is, to me, it's an action. It's got nothing to do with feelings. I married my wife looking to trying to keep my place to provide for her and be good to her. Um, the feelings that I had for her were based on what you would expect of a man that's excited about marrying a Filipina. That's kind of a surreal, exciting situation. And so I wanted to marry her real quickly. Um, so, and her, same thing. We both even told each other we're not even going to say, I love you until we meet or we get married. I can't remember which it was. Um, and, that's a good idea because, in my opinion, when we talk about love, I would even say you really, until you're married, you really, how can you say you do? Because when you love somebody, in my opinion, you're saying, I'm committed to you the rest of our lives. I don't care what happens. I'm in it. I'm going to endure everything because we're committed. Now, I can say that before we're married, but I can't do it. I can't apply it until we actually get married, and she knows I'm serious about her. And what I've said in previous videos is the love that really matters, the feelings. Uh, if I invest in her, and I think I have, and she invests in me, and I think she has, we are loving each other. And in the process, we are going to develop feelings for each other that are going to be stronger than the feelings that might have been there before we got married. Once you get married, the first argument, the first big row, um, you know, things, the bloom is off the rose. You come crash landing back down to earth. And you're going to have those arguments from time to time. So I loved her after, once we got married, I committed to loving her. And I think that once she got married to me, knowing the way I felt about love, that she, committed herself to loving me. I don't think when two people just got, knew each other. I proposed on day 18. Okay. So now she's saying she's willing to marry me and one day come to America, and not knowing much about me, except I wanted to give her a better life. She trusted me, thankfully. So I think it's just based on a desire to love. And I mean, if you say you love her before you married her, I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical about that, because you can always get out if you're not married to her. You just leave. And my wife and I don't feel we can do that. We're kind of stuck. Don't really have a safety net. So we better learn to love each other. I don't think it's got anything to do with feelings. Now, rolling the dice, um, a gambling term. Any marriage, you're kind of rolling the dice, if you want to use that term, and you just never know. You just never know. But I had an idea of what I was looking for, and I had an idea of what kind of husband I was going to be, and I had the idea that she might like that. And in our discussions, we decided to get married. So it's always a risk. I guess I'll use the word risk and not gamble, because everybody wants to think when they marry somebody they've considered what they need to consider, but there's still risk because there's things you don't know until you're really together. And then pray it turns into a loving, trusting marriage. Two things about that. One, yes, you should pray that it turns into a loving, trusting marriage. But number two, you need to work as hard as you can that it be a loving, trusting marriage. If I can remember right, I heard the phrase one time, uh, uh, pray like it depends on God and work like it depends on you. So if you do both of those things, even if you're an older foreigner and you meet younger Filipina, different generation, so far away, it can work out, because I mean that's my number one responsibility. It's not my YouTube channel, Love Beyond the Sea. It's to be good to my wife and to endure and to believe that we can work things out and to be good to her. So you don't want it to be you just blindfold and you just hope it works out. You got to have an idea of what you're looking for, what you can offer. Ask a lot of questions, get to know her. I've got some live streams on communication. Watch my channel. Maybe you'll pick up some things that you think can be helpful to you. Now, having said that, I do feel, I don't want to say we beat the system by getting married, because I recognize we got married very soon, and I think part of the reason that works is because, like I said earlier, it was just time. It was God's time, and the other reason is I'm going to do everything within my power to make this relationship work. That's my job the rest of my life, and it also pays well. It's hard, but it pays well. I don't want to lose my place here. Older men say they feel younger with a much younger girl, but no matter how they try, they won't make the wrinkles go away. Well, you can cover your hair or have your hair a little bit longer like this if you want to cover some wrinkles. Um, Botox is probably too expensive, and you got to keep doing it all the time. So, um, not a good idea. There's nothing you can do about the wrinkles, but when you're doing a webcam, she can probably see the wrinkles. When you're exchanging photographs, she can see the wrinkles. When you meet her in person, she can see the wrinkles. But um, she's marrying you because she has a great sense of needing to be provided for. She wants to feel safe. She doesn't have to marry a millionaire, doesn't have to marry a guy with a mansion or a castle. She just wants to marry somebody that she trusts that will take care of her. And wrinkles or not. I mean, look at a foreigner in the Philippines. He's got to be 75, his wife, maybe 30. And they're still trying to have a baby. So, um, yeah, check out his channel if you're not aware of it, A Foreigner in the Philippines. He's got about 111,000 subscribers, so very popular. Mark, even in Bible times, people are married without knowing much about each other prior to marriage. Very true. They got to know each other, love each other, and get along after the marriage. And there weren't always arranged marriages in the Bible. There were a lot of arranged marriages, but it wasn't always that way. If you read Song of Solomon, there's no indication of an arranged relationship there. Um, it all comes down to how you treat each other. I mean, look, people have known each other for years, 4 or 5 years. They get married, then they get divorced. I don't know, something about living together, under the same roof. You can't just back out. You can't just get away at that point. Forces you, it's flight or fight. And we're going to fight for our relationship. And I, if I am good to her, I don't know why I would have to know her for that long. Now, she has to have a certain trust level, because a lot of guys just say one thing and they mean something else. And the Filipinas have been burned by that, a lot of them. And so, she's taking a big risk, I guess, trusting me that I'm not going to be like maybe other people in her life who haven't been trustworthy, or people she's heard about. Um, so I don't think you have to. I mean, I hate to say this, but I will say it because I'm on record for saying this probably before I even had this channel. And that was, I remember telling somebody one day, probably my pastor, I said, if I can't determine in 3 weeks who I'm going to marry, then I'm asking the wrong questions, or I'm going about it the wrong way. And I didn't know that, in 18 days, I would have a woman from so far away say they would marry me. Now, part of that is because, as we've talked about earlier, Filipinos do like to get married quicker. I was just very serious, and she believed me. She trusted me that I wasn't a player. And so I just spelled it all out, what I was looking for. And she trusted me. We have learned about each other on the run, which you can do if you are committed to each other. And I feel safe with her. She's given me no indication that I can't trust her. I most certainly have given her no indication she can't trust me. She knows how serious I am about this relationship. And, she trusts me. So, as one of our Philippine sponsors said, uh, after we got married, he said, well, you're going to be in the get to know each other stage for another couple of years. And we are. We've been married 4 months short of 4 years. we still probably got some things we don't know about each other. I don't know, but we're getting along well. Now, if you feel intimidated about marrying somebody that you haven't known very long, that's understandable. That's okay. I'm not going to force anybody and say, hey, it worked for me, it worked for you. I would not dare do that. Kind of like investing. A good financial planner will tell you, do not invest anything you can't sleep on. If you lie awake at night thinking, oh boy, this is a good idea, then you shouldn't do it. I was able to sleep comfortably on that, and so I went ahead and did that. Love is not feeling. Yes, I agree with that. Just explain exactly what you're about. No, I'm not a robot, and not a good example of a loving relationship. I don't think love has to do with feelings, because what happens if those feelings get kicked in the teeth? You're not going to love anymore. No, if you love it, it makes no difference what happens to you, because that love goes nowhere. It gets tested, but it's not a feeling. Um, it's just not. Love is an act, and the main reason that is, um, you go to Ephesians 5, the Bible tells husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for it. His love was to endure hell for those people, and if I had any feeling, I would say, I'm not going to do that. That's horrific. Well, he didn't care about himself. He cared about that bride, so he did it. And the Father, I'm sure, didn't love offering up his perfect son for that, but he did it anyway. Love often in the Bible is associated with death, giving up oneself. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lays down his life for his friends. He dies for them. It's not feeling. It's action. It's responsibility. People can say, "Oh, I love my wife." Well, why do you talk to her like that? Or I love my wife. Well, why did you do that? You certainly weren't loving her when you did that. Um, I stand behind that 100%. I don't think now there is like brotherly love called filio, and I have feelings for my wife now more than before because I've invested so much into her. Um, but you can say to yourself, "Oh, I love this woman," and then you find out she's going out with somebody else, or she dumps you. All of a sudden, you don't love her anymore. How can that be? Love doesn't act that way. It's there. I think it's there until that person dies. Your feelings may get hurt. You may get crushed. Things may not work out the way you want. But I just think love is not. Let's put it this way. Essentially, it's not a feeling. It is an action. For God so loved that he gave. Okay, that's called action. There's no feelings. There's feelings of compassion and caring, but that's what the love is. And how do you know it? Because of sacrifice and giving. So, and I talk about that in my other videos. I appreciate you saying that. I don't mind trying to respond to these comments because I agree with that. I don't think love is a feeling, and I'm glad you asked me about that. The topic, Mark, is a generation gap between a man who is nearing retirement, maybe, and a very young girl from an entirely different culture. So yeah, many men. I mean, I get once in a while someone will send me an email telling me how they met someone and they're glad for my help, and I just think buyer beware. You need to know what you're getting into. I want to be very positive and optimistic about what can happen, but I'm not going to brush over or gloss over the dangers. I don't want to do that. Eventually, here we'll get into these, but they're not going to take too long, and I do want to talk about these things. Yeah, living Western society that will view this union as a very inappropriate relationship. But you know what? It's not an inappropriate relationship. So that's all that matters. It just doesn't matter what anybody thinks. Now, if it's your family, um, that's a little bit different. You, here I go again. I say something probably won't be well received, but um, the woman I marry, she comes before the family. If the family doesn't like it, the family doesn't have to be around. They will respect her as I respect her, and if not, well, they know where they stand. I think it's good to put your wife up on a pedestal and support her, protect her reputation, and I don't care what they think. My wife doesn't care what they think. My wife cares what I think about her, and I care what she thinks about me and how we treat each other. Um, yeah, Mark, biblically, we did a video on this age gap. Um, there's been examples in the Bible of this. The Bible doesn't come out and say you can't marry somebody that's much younger. You can't desire somebody that's much younger. That's not the issue. The issue is, are you going to, be a good husband? Is she going to be a good wife? Essentially, that's just what it boils down to. And Dash's comment here: a young girl who slowly becomes westernized, feels the pressure from Western girls her own age. She might not, possibly might cause her to feel taken advantage of. Well, as we've said earlier, I think the Filipina, unless she's very naive, already is aware of all of these things. She's not learning as she goes. She knows why. The older foreigner finds her attractive and interesting as a marriage prospect. Just tell her why you want to marry her. That's not going to be a surprise. I just think you have to give them a little bit more. Um, I don't know, respect for what they know going into this situation. As far as westernized, Americanized, I did a whole video live stream, 29 ways to prevent your Filipina becoming westernized, because my wife isn't becoming westernized. I listed 29 ways that I'm implementing to keep that from happening to her. Fortunately, I married a woman who has good sense and is not being victimized by those Western philosophies. Hi, David Benkendorf. Just remember, because he mentioned his birth year, and the last one I watched, about the crucifixion, a foreigner in the Philippines, is 79, but in great shape for that. 79. So Terrence has 22 years on me, and he's still trying to father a child. Now I don't feel so bad, and yeah, he's in great shape for that, and he's got a wife that's probably what, 30. David, do you know? Um, I'm sure I'm not sure she's happy with him, or she wouldn't have married him. People don't go holding a gun to people's heads and saying you must marry me. It comes down to their choice. Uh, this is Bob, not this Bob. Been laughing for 27 years at these bitter young guys predicting the westernization of my wife. And appreciate that comment. It's not always the young guys. I always assumed it was the older guys who perhaps have been unfortunately and regretfully burned or taken advantage of. I don't rejoice or celebrate anybody going through that, but I agree with you, Bob. I think if the relationship can work in the Philippines, where people say, only marry her and stay and live in the Philippines so she's not influenced by Western society. I feel if it can work in the Philippines, it can work in the United States, it can work in Europe, it can work in Australia. It can just work because it's not so much the geography, it's it's the way the two treat each other and what they're looking for out of that marriage. Boy, I'm getting lightheaded here. I guess I must be talking more than I'm used to. Maybe we can talk about this. I just want to throw out education level here. Last night, again, we talked about humor, culture, energy, sex, basic interests, education level, not really generation gap. But my wife has a college degree. I think that's a good thing. In America, more women now go to college than men do. It's the same way in the Philippines, probably for different reasons. I wouldn't love her less if she didn't have a degree. It shows that she can have a goal and reach it with effort and perseverance. And my wife doesn't, need me to have a degree. She didn't marry me because of my education. I didn't marry her because of hers. And I compliment her on this. From a Filipina's perspective, I doubt, education is important, meaning the guy's education, but it could be an issue. Potentially, she's looking for someone with character and that can provide for her, not necessarily education. And if this describes you, a Filipina may be in your future. Just be aware that if you don't have a college degree and she does, you want to be sure there's no jealousy on your part or resentment on her part. Um, my wife has a degree. She's smarter than I am. And I know that. She doesn't have to remind me. And she's not going to use her degree to make me feel small. But you should also ask her if you're looking for a younger woman. She may have a degree. A lot of guys only look for younger Filipinas that have a degree. So you need to ask her, what is she going to do with this degree when she comes to your country? She may feel like, I'm going to utilize this degree. I'm going to go to America and I'm going to work long and hard, to make something of myself. It's just something, you need to talk to her about. Discussion about generation social gap between older man and younger girl, possibility of conflict and misunderstanding. That's true. That's what it is about. I certainly don't mind branching out into some other things. Last night we didn't have any, much conversation, so I'd like to do that tonight. Guys, what about technological level? Technology. I'm not very capable with these technological things, and it can be frustrating to me to no end, especially trying to have a YouTube channel. Does this bother my Filipino wife? No, it didn't bother her when we were dating, and she fills this gap in my life because she's just good at this stuff, and maybe she gets frustrated at me, feels like I'm a big dummy. I don't know, but she handles all of our tech issues, and I always compliment her on how much I appreciate this from her. I don't feel envious of her. This marriage needs this skill of hers, and hopefully your Filipina doesn't think you are a dummy. But you're going to have to use some of these things yourself just to communicate with her. And so I don't know how you feel about the technology. Some men have not used webcam before. Well, they have to learn how to use a webcam, of course, if they're going to learn to communicate with a Filipina. And I know it can be very frustrating, but that is something you'll want to get to know how to use Viber, Skype, and other things like this. Yeah, you're not attacking my marriage, Dash. I don't feel that way. I never felt that way, and I encourage comments even if they even if I don't agree with them, or I don't agree with them. That's all right. We both found women on Christian Filipina. Somebody from Christian Filipina, or that excuse me, not from Christian Filipina, but he just found a Filipina. He said Now, he read an article I had on the website it's a blog, Foreign Wife Happy Life, and he, congratulated me for helping him with my story to find a Filipina, and hopefully, this channel can do the same thing. Hi, postcards from Cebu. A lot more action tonight. I think I must have had some body odor last night. Not many people joined me. Uh, uh, American kids are more than willing to teach me the technology. Well, you got to learn from somebody, and those kids know. This afternoon, I was trying to figure out how to put music underneath a video on YouTube so you can hear the noise in the background of the voice. And I just couldn't do it. I just ready to pull my hair out, And then I look at YouTube, and everybody with a couple people videos are like 8 years old, and it's still confusing to me. And I think I'm about ready to give up on that. So David Benkendorf, the sad thing is that their degrees, while imparting a valuable education, may not be given any credence here. I know professionals like dentists from the Philippines who can't practice here. And David, you're probably right. They probably need to get some further education, and that's fair. But there are doctors in the Philippines, my wife tells me, who were educated in the States, and so then they are more qualified. Probably there in Manila, Cebu, hopefully in Davao, where Lord willing we can live someday. Yeah, they often give up the education to come be with us. And I told my wife the other day I appreciated her. I appreciate every sacrifice, even if she wasn't making a lot of money by U.S. standards. I appreciate that. It's a sacrifice for her. She had a degree and teaching, and she had to give that up. And you could laugh that off and say, well, she's gaining so much more here. But I don't want to take that away from her, and she can use that degree here if she wanted to, continue education. There's a community college about a mile away, right up the street. And at one time, I offered her if she wanted to do that, she could, and then she decided to go to work. How about taste in music? And I know postcards from Cebu is acquainted with music. I wish I could play instruments, but if I did, that's all I would do with my time. I think I never would have got married. But if I like Bing Crosby and my Filipina likes Bruno Mars or Eminem, what would the solution be? It would be for us to evaluate if that poses a problem before marrying. And it shouldn't be an issue in dating. You're just finding out about each other. If the difference in musical taste is bothersome, I think it would be good to remind ourselves why we are attracted to each other in the first place and how she can be a good wife. There are people my age that like music that would get you arrested in the Philippines. If you like to blast AC/DC and she likes Morissette Amon, playing in the house, then that could be interesting. Musical taste has not been a problem for my wife and I because we discovered early on that we liked the same kind of music, same kind of artists, Billy Joel and the Carpenters and others. When she first wrote that she liked the Bee Gees, I kind of wondered how that could be because the Bee Gees, they were big when I was in high school. How did she know about the Bee Gees? Maybe it was junior high too. And she knew the lyrics to my surprise. And when I met her in the Philippines, I heard a lot of music from the 70s. That was nice, really. I love 70s music. I would not have expected to hear a Lobo song. Yes, a Lobo song blasting from a speaker like I did one day. We enjoy karaoke a lot, partly because our music tastes are about the same. In fact, when she does karaoke with other Filipinas, their selections are pretty much love songs and songs that we are both familiar with. The Carpenters. Yes, the Carpenters. They're very popular. We just saw a little documentary on them on the smart TV that my wife put together for us. 80s music, 70s music. What happened after that? I think I went the 90s and the 2000s without listening to any new music. Um, David Beckendorf, I do have a church friend who was is a history teacher there, and he got some organization illegally certified that his credentials were equivalent to a teacher's or a bachelor's degree here. Um, yeah, there's things she can do with it. You know, it's not worthless. She may have to upgrade it, something like that, and just have to ask her if she's willing to do that. But she may see the money that she can make getting a job here in America, for example, and say, "Well, I think I'll just go to work." Vivian's favorite, Carpenters. I I don't mind admitting I like the Carpenters. I grew up with that. Back when I grew up, you only had like one or two, three AM stations, and uh, you had American Top 40. Carpenters were big. Yeah, I still like them. They still have something like that in Canada too. Think about the education and credentials. Another thing might be dancing, similar to music. If the foreigner really likes to dance, then unless she obliges him now and then, that won't be something they can share. So that's something to know ahead of time if this is very important to the man. And I listed it because it relates to musical taste. Um, some older men maybe, like not me, but some older men, just kidding, like ballroom dancing or country western dancing. Here in the Midwest, that's kind of popular, but this might be something a younger Filipina has never heard of. I don't know what Isa would think if I said, "Hun, why don't we go out and try some, country western dancing?" She might like it. I don't know. She does like country music, though, which is amazing, but she does. David, so he can teach, but as a substitute teacher with uncertain hours, and his current job as a caretaker pays more. So I don't understand why some can use their prior education and others can't. The devil is in the details. And David, you have a Filipino pastor. Is that correct? Dancing. I'm not a big dancer, but younger woman probably has different different tastes. And yeah, that may be more strict with medical on the education side. How about clothing? This one could hit home. It did with me. Could be interesting. I didn't exactly dress in rags, but my Filipino wife had her idea of what she wanted me to look like. At first, this isn't so endearing, but eventually I learned not to fight it because it would do no good. And it pleased my wife to dress me in a way that she was proud of. So be prepared. Hold on loosely to your sense of fashion. And a lot of guys, we don't care about that. It's possible the younger woman might, maybe an older, similar age Filipina wouldn't care so much, but a younger woman, that might be important to her. She wants me to look the best I can. That's what she wants. She likes doing that, and I don't look at it like she is trying to control me, and I don't think anyone else should either. She just has a good eye. She likes to buy clothes for her father and have him look nice and spiffy. Now, if I were to insist on not changing my appearance in this way, she would take that as not being interested in what she thinks is doing me a favor. A Filipino will naturally dress in a nice, appropriate way. I would recommend looking for someone that has, good taste in clothes. Not really flashy or ornate or revealing a lot of skin, just good, decent clothes, way she dresses. And so the kind you should marry, nice dress, and she would probably protest and resist wearing something that she feels is indecent. And being open to this change helps to not let this become an issue like it could. And I'll just add here that facial hair usually isn't preferred by a Filipina. She doesn't see Filipinos wearing facial hair, so I think she might think it looks kind of scruffy. So be prepared to talk about facial hair. I had a beard. My wife wanted me to shave it off. I did. Then she wanted me to grow it back. I did. Then she wanted me to shave it off. Now she thinks I look younger with the beard. So I told her, look, hon, I've given you what you want enough times. Right now, I'm just not going back to that. But I did do what she wanted. The Filipina will have her idea of what looks appealing and will try to accommodate the man's age, but he'll have to allow her to do this. Dash, general feeling will be that if you were doing a search for a wife and by coincidence you met a 26-year-old and hit it off, but when a man in his 50s is targeting 20-somethings, well, again, general feelings are not important to me because I only have to please the wife, the Filipina, and I have to please myself. It's my qualifications that I'm looking for, and it's the Filipina's qualifications in the husband that she's looking for. She is wise enough to understand prevailing thoughts and opinions and conceptions and stereotypes out there, and so am I. So it doesn't matter. And we have not had any trouble here. We don't have to defend our relationship to anybody here. If they see you together, you're getting along well, I think people just forget about the age difference. When I look at people like Terrence and Beth, others, I can't name them right now on YouTube, that have an age gap, I don't even look at them as having an age gap. They're just husband and wife. Filipino pastor, yep. And an impressionable young girl could get affected by this and begin to get negative about her marriage. She could. Now, you use the word girl. Filipina, if you're looking for someone that's 18 to 20, it's possible she might be a girl in her maturity. My wife is 26. 26 to 30, they're probably going to be less of a girl and more of a woman. My wife did not like me calling her a young woman. She said, I'm not a young woman. I'm a mature adult woman. And she is. So we don't worry about stuff like that. My wife is not impressionable in that sense. She's a strong woman. She knows what she wants, and she will stand up for our relationship, and I will stand up for hers. Mark, I have a beard that my girlfriend wants me to get rid of, but you don't like shaving, so I'm keeping it. Guess they feel the way because a lot of Asian men are not able to grow beards. Well, here's the thing, Mark. In her world, she doesn't see a lot of beards, but like my wife, when she got here in America, everybody has a beard. She watches TV, everybody has a beard, it seems. Younger men, older men, it's totally normal. And I think she has come to see a beard as being an attractive thing, an enhancement on a man. So, it's possible. Going to Canada, if you marry someone, bring her to Canada, she may change her perspective on that. And I appreciate Dash's concerns. You need to be comfortable. You need to be comfortable. You can listen to me say it doesn't matter what other people think. What matters is what I think and what I know and what she thinks and she knows. You can listen to other people, and at the end of the day, you have to be comfortable with your belief system. I'm just here to help. Don't have to agree with me. I just want to help. I heard Filipinas don't like tattoos, but I see a lot of them with foreigners. With a lot of them, you mean Filipinas that have tattoos because the foreigners have tattoos? Um, I would not. I'm not looking for a Filipino with tattoos. It scares me to death because what was a tattoo 20, 30 years ago on a woman if they ever had them? And they did. It just wasn't common. Is not what it's morphed into today. Kind of got carried away. My wife doesn't like tattoos either. So I guess she's one of those Filipinas that isn't really interested in that. Um, so another thing here, and there's just two more real quick. Attitude. If the younger generation has a poor attitude, this should be measured before getting married. And this would be a deal breaker to me, poor attitude. And if someone characterizes a younger people today as being a certain way that is not complimentary, don't forget that the younger Filipina might have some of these same characteristics. However, I sense that there are many Filipinos who have good attitudes and are respectful of elders. Changing her attitude would require a lot of effort and patience, which I don't want to do. I want to marry her as she is, accept her how she is, learn what I can about her. Uh, David adds, I believe in the past it was prevalent among Filipinos, but maybe the tattoo thing is shunned by some because of some mechanism similar to why many want whiter skin. Could be. I know my wife, if you see pictures of her outdoors, is covered up. Well, the one time was because I won't get into that. It was a skin, or not skin, hair removal thing, and she had to stay out of the sun. But nevertheless, she would still want to be covered up outside. She has nice light brown skin. I kind of was, I don't know, I like what they call morenas, dark skin Filipinas. That's very appealing to me. My wife doesn't have that kind of dark skin, but she's a Filipina. I love the color of her skin, and she has no tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, so we're in the same thing there. Last one here: food choices. Food choices. Uh, Older foreigner perhaps has learned over the years that food, what we eat, they say you are what you eat, and there's some truth to that. And this would bother me if there would be a big difference between me and my wife and how we ate. For example, if one ate healthy and the other didn't. And if you meet her in person and spend some time with her, you'll get an idea of this. But that's not a guarantee how she'll eat in a new country with, well, one, more options, and two, more money to buy that food. A junk food junkie is not going to easily change their eating habits. So this is not a small thing to account for. Pepsi, pop, Coca-Cola, Pepsi seems to be abundant in the Philippines. And I've tried my best to educate my wife about pop and sugar. For that matter, I used to be a real sugar addict. I would go to bed with pop, on the bedside. And when I was younger, I would put bread or pasta, dried pasta, underneath my pillow. I'm telling you, I was addicted to the sugar. I just had to have it all the time. And once I read about that, I became convinced, yeah, that's not good. My dad was an alcoholic. I had a health expert tell me that children of alcoholics tend to be addicted to sugar. And well, in my case, that was true. When I first met my wife, very first time I met her in the airport in Manila, we got into a taxi, and there she is with a bag of French fries and maybe some kind of burgers, pop. She's drinking that, chomping away, and I'm thinking, wow, I didn't expect her to be eating this sort of thing. Oh my! But fortunately, she cares about her appearance, her figure. She tells me I'm a Filipina. It's in my genes. I'm not going to gain weight. Well, I tell her, don't be so sure about that. Be careful with what you eat. David, first time I was in the Philippines, saw the Coke bottles on the side of the road. I didn't realize they were selling gas, but knew the color was a bit off. I'm not sure I understand. I've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes, kind of getting lightheaded. I didn't realize they were selling gas. I don't understand that, but there's a lot of pop there, and they sell a lot of things in the Philippines I didn't even know existed anymore. There's even a Shakey's pizza. We had a Shakey's when I was in elementary school. Didn't know there was such a thing anymore. So there's probably other differences that come with a generation gap. Just wanted you to think about it. If you hadn't, what about an age gap could cause you issues? Hopefully, this will help you to be more comfortable talking to a Filipina. And if some of these generational gaps are important to you, jot them down, and it gives you something else to talk about. That's what you want. And when you're communicating, you want to talk about anything you think could be an issue down the line before you get married, and then you just have to deal with it. They were selling gas poured it from glass Coke bottles. Well, be careful not to drink that. Sometimes I think if you took a Coke bottle and poured it in the car, you might be able to get 10 miles a gallon off of that stuff. That's just not, Pepsi is not a healthy drink. I ought to know. I used to be addicted to that stuff. Now I like coffee, water, and apple cider vinegar. So anyway, we've talked a lot tonight. I greatly appreciate the comments. I don't mind straying from the topic because I think people can learn about these things. If it's important to you, I want to be a matter of fact and answer those questions. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. Any more comments, you can still leave that here. But I think being respectful of each other's differences will help you with your love beyond the sea. There are going to be differences with an age gap, generation gap, and they're not always to be. You can't take them lightly. You want to think about those things. Apple cider vinegar, a staple for you too. I take, I don't know, a cup like this and just kind of pour in by hand. I like it cold. I can't stand it. I know one Filipino that will take the apple cider vinegar and drink a couple of teaspoons raw, and I just I don't think I could do that. But my wife surprised me the other day. She said she bought some vitamins. She didn't like taking pills when we got married. She thought taking vitamins was the same thing as taking drugs. She didn't like pills. Well, maybe I've had a good influence on her in that. I take many, many, many supplements. I've just always been crazy about health, even when I drank pop and ate terrible. I got a lot of supplements I should show you, but I have a whole desk, not desk, set of drawers that my wife wanted me to keep, put all my supplements and meds in them, and I'm glad we did because that's a good use for it. Keto diet, 67 pounds down since early August of 2018. Thanks for joining, David. Good to hear from you and everybody else. Those keto diets can work because you're using your fat of your body you're using it for energy, for calories. That's why you can eat less and eat the protein. You exhaust that, and then your body goes to the fat. So people can lose a lot of weight that way. I hope you have. I hope you're prepared for how to handle coming off of that, David. And I'm sure you've read some stuff on that, because eventually you'll reach your goal, and then you'll want to know how to, I suppose, reintegrate some carbs into your life, kind of like fasting. I've done fasting in the past. I mean, longest fast I ever had was like 59 days, and it was juice fast. 59 days. I don't know what got into me, but sometimes I like to push the limits, and I survived. I survived just fine. 59 days. Got a lot of water in my ears. Kind of scared me, so I decided to call it off. But once you, and I've done smaller fasts, but once you call it off, boy, it's tempting to just, eat like a horse. So you got to be careful about that. But yeah, a lot of us foreigners have to be mindful of our health and all of that. So intermittent fasting, well, you're certainly going all out. I would like the intermittent fasting, David, but I am just so afraid that I'm not going to be able to work. I work 6 days a week. I'm on my feet. Maybe if I had more of a desk job, I might go for it. But I don't know. I need to be done pushing the limits of endurance at my age. But thank you, everybody, for joining. I love talking about the age gap, because I don't think there should be any shame in looking for a younger woman. Why would there be? Um, your goal has to be to take care of her. You need to please her. Also, I'll mention just this at the end, because a lot of people, probably a few people will be here to watch it. But we talked about this yesterday. Um, you get involved with a younger woman, you got to please that younger woman. And so anything you can do for your health, um, is good. I want to be healthy. I need to please my wife. And, you know, at our age difference, that is still possible. You know, in 10 years, who knows? When we get older, we tend to lose things. And just, I need to take good care of her while I can. So I have enjoyed this thoroughly. And, I'm not sure what the next live stream will be, if it is in a couple weeks. But I do thank you for everybody here. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea if you haven't. If you see this months down the road and are interested in a foreigner and a Filipino relationship, I just want to do my part to help. And so hopefully that has done the job for tonight. So you have a good evening and a good end of the week tomorrow. We'll see you next time on Love Beyond the Sea.